All right, so we made our return visit to a haunt that we visited for the first time last year. It is now in an entirely new location, and when we visited the previous location, they said to us, look for us next year because we'll be bigger and better than ever. Is that true, Laura?
Yes, it is true, definitely. I know I enjoyed it a lot last year, but this year blew me away. They had, I mean, if you take a haunt, and I mean, we see different types of themes. You have the zombie theme, you have the hospital theme, you have, the cannibal theme, you have all these different themes. This haunt had it all. I mean, it was a variety. You had a little bit of everything. And it was a longer haunt. I mean, it wasn't like you just go through and done. Every single room had elaborate sets, fantastic actors. I mean, they made it. They weren't in your face or screaming at you. They all were in their characters. They all were in their own world. They were, I mean, some were funny. Some, made you jump. I mean, it just had a little bit of everything. This is something like, if you could say like an ideal haunt, this is it. Because, depending on what you like, you have a little bit of everything. So there's something, anybody that goes in, they'll like that. Because there's something for everybody. Because they even have 3D in there. Like, you go through the haunt, and then there's a 3D section. So it even has that in there along with all the other themes of other haunts. So I was just blown away by the sets. I was blown away. They have animatronics. It's just too much to even mention. I really enjoyed it. That's one I would actually make a second trip in the season to go back just to see it again, because there's a good chance I missed something. But just to say, I mean, one thing that I haven't really seen before. I mean, I've seen movie theaters, like a theater in a haunt, but they actually had a plane crash. Like, crashed into the building up in the air. I mean, it was just so much going on. I mean, just so many different things to see. A dinosaur head, T-Rex, starts coming at you, the head. That was cool. That was there last year, but that was there again this year, along with some other really great animatronic, big ones, big animatronics in there. So I am going to say right now, I know it's early in the season, but this was my favorite professional haunt so far this season, and I am going to give it a 6 chainsaw because I really, really loved it. Like I said, this is one that I would go back and see again this year. 6 chainsaws for me. I mean, that it goes above and beyond the 5. It was just had a little bit of everything. Really enjoyed it. And we've done professional haunts already, and this one by far I enjoyed probably the most.
I'm really going to have to agree with that. This certainly, I know it's early in the season, but this has been the first wow professional haunt that we've seen so far this season. It's definitely Hall of Fame material. We'll have to see how it shapes up towards the end of the season, but I think it's a very strong contender for the Hall of Fame for 2014 for the horror tours. This haunt, as Laura said, had everything in it. I mean, it's almost insane how much stuff they had in there. They had cannibals, pigs running a butcher shop, dinosaurs, a plane through a building. They even had a hooker in there. A male hooker, mind you, okay? They had zombies. They had a theater. They had crazy clowns. They had a guy dressed like a nun who welcomed us to hell. I mean, what more could you possibly ask for? This place had everything. The sets were extremely detailed. To give you an example, the very first set we walked into was a mental hospital. And as regular horror tours fans know, I'm no fan of the mental hospital genre. It's very boring sometimes. Mental patients, they do the same thing over and over, and it can get really repetitive. But this was outstandingly good. The sets were extremely well designed, which gives it a plus right there, even if it's not that great. First scene we walked into is this little nurse with no eyes. Her eyes were black. And instead of being creepy or scary...
Devil's Rain. Remember that movie?
Yes.
Devil's Rain.
So
it's an oldie.
This reminded me of what was interesting about it was the girl was not trying to scare us. She was just acting as if she was completely bored. And she was walking down this corridor, and it was all cells. And she had a chain, and she's banging on the doors, saying, okay, everybody, come on, it's time to get your medicine. And the doors start, okay, you don't know which one anybody's going to jump out at. But, of course, there's one right next to you. The guy comes out, and he just looks at you, and of course, appropriately enough, he looks crazy. But it's funny because the thought went into my head as I saw that little nurse walking down this corridor. It reminded me of haunts that do commercials. And you look at the commercial and you think, wow, that's great. And then you go in there and you're like, What is that? This commercial has nothing to do with it. Well, this one was the opposite. I could picture that little nurse in doing her thing in an actual commercial, and then I'd walk right into the real haunt and see that. That's how good this haunt was. In fact, we were in the haunt and we walked through so many different scenes. I thought we were done, and I was happy with that. And out here, I'm ready to go, and we walk into this, what it looks like a theater, real theater seats. There's a movie playing on a screen over here. There's actual movie playing. I thought this was some kind of entertainment, weight entertainment, whatever it was. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. You got a movie theater there, right? And I saw a light through the doorway. I thought that's the way out. Well, no, this was just the pathway into another part of the whole experience. It went on for another 6 minutes after that, after we went through there. And we walked through the theater to the lobby of the theater with all these movie posters and everything, and you could see through the window of the theater onto the street. And that's where this male hooker was. See, there he was. He's over there waving to us as we're going through, which was kind of funny. And then you walk out onto the street, and you see this plane crash into a building, and you see the marquee of the theater. It's actually lit up. It's got a ticket window in front and everything. I mean, the attention to detail is just outstanding. So much so that scenes that would be boring, like there was a street scene with zombies, we see that all the time. You think, oh, yawn, boring. No, it was great. And another thing I'd like to add is they were very good at distracting you, the actors. Almost every room had fake life-size mannequins that were dressed up really well. So you couldn't tell at a glance whether they were real or not. And of course, they're there to distract you while the real actors come out. And in almost every room, there was an actor that distracted you, a live one, plus these fake ones around, and then the real hidden one that came out from somewhere. Always in some clever areas, and I won't spoil it. But the actors were just crazy enough to entertain you, but not too much to annoy you, which is a fine balance that some haunts do not manage to pull off properly. But there's so much I could say about it. Read the full review. We'll try to get as much in there as possible if you really want some spoilers about the whole thing. It's just outstanding. The Massacre is worth every penny. Get there early because there will be long lines, and it's deservedly so because it's fantastic. So get there early. Make sure you do. And it's definitely, I'll give it a 6 out of 5 too. It is a 6 out of 5 for sure. Hall of Fame contender.